Karoline Leavitt is back and she's not holding back. Karoline Leavitt is making headlines again, and this time she's turning up the heat like never before. Whether she's shutting down a smug French politician who instantly realized he was way out of his depth, or calling out billionaires like Jeff Bezos in front of the cameras, Karoline is delivering hit after hit.
There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
Every moment she's on screen feels like something you'll want to rewind and watch again. This isn't just political commentary, it's a masterclass in boldness, clarity, and confidence. From her sharp comebacks to her calm takedowns, she's proving why she's quickly becoming one of the most compelling voices in the political arena. And trust me, once you start watching, you won't want to miss a second of it.
Former President Biden, he's set to deliver his first major speech since leaving office tonight. I wanted to get the president's response, or if he plans to respond to this, and comments on what Democrats are calling cuts to Social Security.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program.
Let's start with one of the most ironic moments you'll hear all week. A French politician recently demanded that the United States return the Statue of Liberty. Yes, you read that right. Apparently, he forgot that the statue was a gift from the French people. Even more awkward, his political party only represents about 14% of the French population based on recent EU Parliament elections. So, technically, he doesn't even represent the people who gave the gift in the first place.
Tim Walz, Governor Walz, saying last night he frequently checks Tesla stock. In doing so, to quote, give me a little boost during the day. How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company?
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz unfortunately is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th.
To make things even more absurd, this demand came from a left-wing politician, the kind who claims to champion freedom and progress. It's almost like satire writing itself. The entire situation is both hilarious and painfully revealing.
Well, I think it was a great reminder to the American people of just how blessed we all are that the leader sitting in the Oval Office today is President Donald Trump and not President Kamala Harris.
Just to add on the Kamala Harris point, I think I speak for everyone at the White House. We encourage Kamala Harris to continue going out and do speaking engagements.
Meanwhile, back in the U.S., President Joe Biden gave yet another speech that left a lot of people scratching their heads. Public speaking has never been one of his strengths, and this latest attempt didn't change anyone's mind. From the moment he stepped up to the microphone, it felt like watching a slow-motion disaster. He stumbled over his words, lost track of his thoughts, and meandered so far off topic that the audience looked more confused than informed. It wasn't just a weak performance, it was hard to watch. But while that speech fizzled, Karoline Leavitt was out there landing knockout blows.
In Britain, we have had over a quarter of a million people issued non-crime hate incidents. As we speak, there are people in prison for quite literally reposting memes. Would the Trump administration consider political asylum for British citizens in such a situation?
Well, to your latter question, it's a very good one. I have not heard that proposed to the president, nor have I spoken to him about that idea, but I certainly can and talk to our national security team and see if it's something the administration would entertain.
In real time, no less. She absolutely dismantled recent comments from Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. It wasn't just that she disagreed with them, she broke down their arguments piece by piece, clearly and calmly, making it impossible to deny the flaws in their logic. While Biden's speech seemed unsure and disjointed, Karoline's delivery was laser-focused and confident. These moments make it clear why Karoline's influence continues to grow while others seem to be spinning their wheels. Let's be honest, when your political opponents are people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the best strategy might just be to let them speak.
To your first question about free speech in the United Kingdom, the Vice President has been incredibly outspoken about this for good reason. And the President has spoken about this as well directly with your Prime Minister when he was here for a visit to the White House. So it remains a critical endeavor of ours to show the Brits and your country, which we love and admire, about the First Amendment and the importance of free speech in a sovereign nation.
You don't even have to argue. Just let them talk, and eventually they do the job for you. Kamala's long-winded, confusing statements have become something of a punchline, and Walz often sounds like he's operating in some alternate universe. You don't need a slick campaign or spin doctors to respond, just patience. Let the public hear it, and they'll draw their own conclusions. It's like watching a car slowly roll off a cliff in broad daylight. Oh, and before we go on, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps more than you realize, and there's plenty more to come. Now, let's talk about Tim Walz.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Not too long ago, the media was practically tripping over itself to praise him. He was framed as the next fresh face of the Democratic Party, someone who could supposedly connect with everyday Americans. But after a few public missteps and some truly awkward appearances, the coverage vanished. The same news outlets that once treated him like the golden boy are now nowhere to be found. It's a classic case of overpromising and under-delivering. The media sold an image, but the real person couldn't keep up. Meanwhile, over in the UK, the government is catching heat of its own. Winston Marshall, yes, the former Mumford & Sons musician, has taken on the role of unlikely truth-teller, calling out the growing clampdown on free speech in Britain. When musicians start sounding more like honest politicians than the actual politicians do, you know something's gone seriously off track. And back here in the States, we got another unexpected twist during a White House press briefing.
And it is racist what she is saying. The president intends on deporting illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and are not only impacting communities across the country, but in particular communities of color in our inner cities. You remember the story out of New York City where young minority children were kicked out of their public school to make room for illegal immigrants to sleep on the floor of their cafeteria. That is putting America last. Doesn't matter your race, your religion, or creed. If you are a law-abiding American citizen, President Trump is going to put you first. And shame on Simone Sanders for saying that.
This one wasn't your typical media event. It was organized specifically for newer independent media outlets. That meant fewer legacy reporters asking softball questions and more outsiders unafraid to speak plainly. One question during that briefing stood out. It wasn't about a brand new scandal or breaking story. It was about a problem that had been festering for months, one that traditional media had largely ignored. But all it took was one bold voice to ask the tough question, and suddenly the issue was everywhere. That's the power of independent journalism. Mainstream outlets too often focus on maintaining a certain narrative. If a story doesn't fit, it simply doesn't get airtime. That's why these new voices matter so much. They cut through the noise, ask what others won't, and remind us all what real reporting looks like. Speaking of calling people out, Karoline also didn't hold back when she addressed Jeff Bezos. Her comments weren't just bold, they were strategic. She pointed out how recent Amazon labeling changes could actually help consumers figure out where their products come from, making it easier to support American-made goods without needing a marketing campaign. Clever, right? Now imagine this exact same policy under Donald Trump. The media would have gone wild, endless headlines about tariffs, trade wars, and economic chaos. But because it happened under someone else, it barely made a ripple. That's what made Karoline's moment so satisfying. She took a challenging question and flipped it into a win. Calm, confident, and completely unfazed. And just when you thought things couldn't get more unbelievable, MSNBC gave us another jaw-dropper. Joy Reid's replacement, Simone Sanders, recently came under fire for comments that many are calling outright racist. It happened during one of those new media press briefings, which seem to have a habit of revealing what the mainstream keeps trying to hide. Let's be honest here, why MSNBC thought handing the mic to Simone Sanders would solve anything is beyond me.